As the man was heading out for work, a sun lamp from a photography studio unexpectedly dropped from the sky. But little did he know, he had been living a lie for the past 30 years. Since birth, he had been living on an island that was meticulously arranged by a director. The entire island was a massive studio, and everyone, except him, were professional actors. Even his loved ones, including his parents and wife, were carefully selected actors. The island was covered with over 5,000 cameras that broadcasted his every move to 220 countries. A staggering 1.7 billion people witnessed his birth, and every moment of his life was live-streamed by omnipresent cameras 24/7. When the spotlight fell, Truman looked around confused, gazing up at the sky, only to see blue skies. Soon after, the radio reported that an airplane part had fallen, easing his worries. However, the director still arranged for him to go out and make an insurance deal, requiring him to take a boat to get there. Standing at the pier, he quickly became weak in the knees, as he had lost his father in these waters when he was young, causing him to develop a fear of the sea, preventing him from leaving the island. One day, Truman meets this wanderer, and it turns out to be his father who passed away years ago. Before they can catch up, these two people show up out of nowhere and take his father away. Truman tries to follow them, but it seems like everyone on the street is purposely blocking his way. When he finally gets home and tells his mom what happened, she tells him he's imagining things and to just forget about his dad. But Truman can't forget, so he goes through his old stuff and finds a photo of his dad, and a red scarf left behind by his college sweetheart. They fell in love at first sight, but then the TV show he's on arranges for him to have a wife instead. Truman still has feelings for his college sweetheart, and they exchange flirty looks at a ball, but everyone keeps getting in the way. So he sneaks off to the library to find her, and they run away to the beach together. But then the TV crew catches up to them.
Listen to me. Everybody knows about it. Everybody knows everything you do. They're pretending, Truman. Do you understand? Everybody.
The crew takes her away, and she's never seen again, but she stays in Truman's heart. For 10 years, Truman never forgot his first love, and pieced together her appearance using features from magazine models. Sylvia, who watched Truman's life on TV, had always been interested in him, and they still loved each other. One day, as Truman was on his way to work, he heard a radio broadcast of his every move, even which turn he was about to make. This made him realize that the world was not as simple as he thought, and everyone was keeping their distance from him. When he got home and looked at his wedding photo, he noticed his wife's fingers folded, which meant they were praying for forgiveness from God, and that their marriage was a lie. Now, he is determined to break it. He decided to leave immediately. Unfortunately, when he tried to buy plane tickets, the ticket agent informed him that there wouldn't be any available for a month, so he had to use other means of transportation. When he tried to buy bus, and the bus broke down, he forcibly took his wife with him, but suddenly there were lots of cars on the road, blocking his way. Nevertheless, he didn't give up. When he got to the bridge over the sea, he was too scared to go any further, so he closed his eyes and grabbed his wife's hand, and with her help, he managed to drive to the other side. Ahead there was a forest fire, and Truman knew it was just another trick. He pressed the gas pedal and drove through it. Just as he thought he had escaped, a group of police officers stopped him and warned him of a nuclear radiation leak ahead.
For your help. You're welcome, Truman.
Truman realized they were also fake when they called him by name. He ran into the forest, determined to find the truth, but he was eventually overpowered by a group of actors. But he knows nothing about it. His wife starts to incorporate advertising into the show.
Make you some of this new Mococo drink. All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
And Truman's feeling super pissed off.
Who you talking to?
He starts arguing with his fake wife, and she's so desperate that she calls for help. And then, out of nowhere, his buddy shows up with some beers. And they sit on this bridge, where they used to hang out when they were kids. Truman's questioning everything around him, but his friend's like,
and the last thing that I would ever do is lie to you.
But in reality, the director was feeding him lines from behind the scenes. Later on, the director sets it up so Truman's dad comes back, and the director's got this whole thing planned out with shots and music, and the audience is bawling their eyes out, and the ratings go through the roof. Truman's life goes back to normal. but the director arranges for him to get a new wife. But this place can no longer trap him. This day, the camera in front of the Truman slept for more than 10 hours. The director found that something was wrong, and sure enough, the quilt was fake. He had dug a passage to escape. The director cut the live broadcast, and all the actors started a frantic search for Truman. It was getting dark, so they decided to break the rules and make the sun rise earlier. But even then, there was no sign of Truman anywhere on the island. Suddenly, the director had a realization and ordered the opening of the sea surveillance. Truman was found drifting at sea, but he was determined to keep his promise to the girl and had no fear of the ocean. The director then decided to create a huge storm to deter Truman. The calm sea turned into a fierce tempest with thunder and lightning, and Truman was thrown into the sea. But he was a tough cookie and climbed back onto his boat, tying himself to it to stay safe. The audience was glued to their seats, holding their breath as Truman fought to survive the storm. The director then cranked up the wind even more, determined to capsize Truman's boat. The waves crashed down relentlessly, and after a while, the boat finally flipped over. Suffering cannot defeat the optimism and hard work of strong people. The director might have thought that he had gone too far, and the storm subsided. Truman gradually regained consciousness under the watchful eyes of the audience. He had made it through. Truman hoisted his sail once again, and no one could stop him. But when he reached the end of his journey, he collided with a wall that he couldn't see. It had been holding him captive for 30 years. Everything around him, the sky, his parents, and even his wife, was all a lie. As Truman climbed the stairs along the wall to the film studio, he was just about to open the final door when the director called out to him, trying to make one final plea to keep him from leaving. But Truman had already made up his mind.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.
He took his final bow, announcing the end of this epic 30-year-long live broadcast, and then confidently walked through the door to his freedom. The audience was thrilled, and Sylvia was over the moon at the prospect of being reunited with her beloved Truman. Perhaps you find this story somewhat unusual, but have you ever stopped to think that in this world, there are many people just like Truman who are being manipulated and living predetermined lives? When we were young, we all had big dreams and talked about them with passion and enthusiasm, but as we grew up and were faced with exams, jobs, and marriage, did we forget about our dreams? Every day, we are inspired by other people's stories, but like the audience in this film, we often give in to the preconceived notions of society and end up following a predetermined path. Sometimes, we need to be brave like Truman and pursue our dreams with all our heart.